Hello again, and welcome to day 3 of week 13 of year 2 of the Religious Education Initiative. I meant to record this third one at home, as I just said, at the end of the day 2 recording, but I realized I may not have the chance, so we'll record this here. So, we're continuing with Mark chapter 4. So our last reading from the Gospel of Mark 2 weeks ago included several brief parables following the parable of the sower from 3 weeks ago. We may remember that Jesus was preaching these parables on the seashore and was even preaching from a boat a little offshore. We continue here with what happened that evening after Jesus had finished preaching as he leaves the crowd behind and crosses the sea with his disciples. So this is chapter 4, verse 35. On that day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion, and they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up and rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Then the wind ceased, and there was a dead calm. He said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great awe, and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" Now, a couple things to point out. This is a very brief reading. It's almost more of a prelude for the reading that comes afterwards, and that's the first point to make. Jesus is the one who urges them to cross the sea here. He's been preaching, and then he says, "Let's go across to the other side." We know that the Lord does not do things for no purpose, so he has a reason to cross the Sea of Galilee. This isn't just, let's get my disciples out into the middle of the sea so that there can be a big storm and they can see that I have authority over the sea, although certainly that would not be a bad thing for them to see. And they ask the question, who is this that even the wind and the sea obey him? There's only one answer to that. Only God has that authority over the elements, over the weather, over the wind and the waves. We can't control that now. We do not expect ever to be able to control these things, certainly not with a word of command. So this shows very clearly God's power over the wind and the waves. It may even be an intentional reference to Noah's Ark. We're kind of moving again through similar parts of sort of imitating the narrative of Genesis. So here we have the Lord on the boat with his disciples, and there's a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and then he calms them with a word. So again, he shows himself to be God in this way. One thing that might be a little bit odd is it mentions that other boats were with him. So I think the point of this is Mark is showing us this isn't just something that the apostles saw. Everyone else was out on the water. They saw the boat tossed, they were tossed themselves, and then they heard the voice of the Lord calm the storm. So he's mentioning even that there are witnesses here. But the third point is just a little bit of a spoiler. Jesus did this for a reason. He crossed the sea for a purpose. And next week, we'll see what he does. And it's not hard to interpret because he does precisely one thing on the other side of the sea here. And then he gets back in the boat and leaves. So that is what he came to do. And we should pay attention to that. So that's all for day 3. God bless you all. I'll see you next week.